America just changed its visa policy, and this time, the impact is massive. Entire countries are waking up to shocking restrictions. From sudden travel bans to skyrocketing visa fees, and even complete suspension of student and work visas. The new rules are already affecting millions of people worldwide. Some nations have been quietly blacklisted. Others are being hit with new integrity fees, entry limits, and aggressive background checks. And for some, the dream of entering the United States just got crushed overnight. In July 2025, the United States rolled out its most dramatic visa policy changes in years. From high-risk travel bans to visa revocations, the impact is global. Whether you're planning to visit, study, work, or invest in the U.S., this affects you. Let's count down the 10 countries facing the biggest shock and what it means for their future. Number 10, Venezuela. In June 2025, the U.S. government introduced post-June 6 travel restrictions on Venezuela, effectively halting new immigrant and non-immigrant visas, including B1, B2, F, M, and J categories, for Venezuelan nationals abroad who didn't already hold valid visas by the cutoff date. Even Venezuelans with approved visas now face entry suspensions if they apply or remain outside after June 9, making previously valid tourist, student, or work visas unusable. The White House cited concerns over passport/document integrity, failure to cooperate on deportation, and high visa overstay risks, justifying the addition of Venezuela to the restricted list. Notably, consular officials were instructed to revoke eligibility or limit validity of new visas for Venezuelans not covered by exceptions. This abrupt policy catches many off guard. Creole families in Houston, for example, have been scrambling to bring relatives to the U.S. before cuts hit. Experts warn Venezuelans outside the U.S. should rush to enter before June 9, as otherwise their travel plans could be entirely blocked. Number 9, Laos. Laos has quietly landed on the list of partial U.S. visa restrictions, including tourist, B1, B2, student F, M, J, exchange, and immigrant visas, effective for applications filed after June 9, 2025. The U.S. State Department also ordered a reduction in validity for any new non-immigrant visas issued to Lao nationals, where permitted by law. Laos was singled out due to its sky-high visa overstay rates, 34.8% for business, tourist visas, and 6.5% for student visas, along with persistent refusal to repatriate nationals when ordered deported. These concerning figures, alongside flagging security cooperation, motivated the U.S. to tighten visa controls. The consequences? Lao travelers face shortened visa durations, fewer auto extensions, and harsher interview scrutiny, even if they previously had clean immigration records. For students and workers, the pathway to study or perform in the U.S. just became far more complicated, and the full extent of restrictions remains evolving. So far, we've seen some unexpected names. But the next 8 countries? They include war-torn zones, global powers, and even countries once considered U.S. allies. Make sure to watch till the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Number 8. China. In a move that stunned the international education community, the United States has begun a sweeping crackdown on student visas for Chinese nationals. Starting in late May 2025, the U.S. began revoking and halting visas for Chinese students in sensitive fields like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, semiconductors, and aerospace engineering. The focus is primarily on students affiliated with institutions linked to the Chinese military or the Chinese Communist Party. The new policy affects not only future applicants but also students who were already enrolled and living in the U.S., some of whom had their visas suddenly canceled with no clear explanation. U.S. consulates in multiple countries, including Singapore, the U.K., and even India, have paused student visa interview appointments for Chinese nationals. The suspension has also extended to many students from Hong Kong, despite it being a semi-autonomous region. The U.S. government argues that this policy is necessary for national security, citing threats of intellectual property theft and espionage. However, critics argue that the measures are too broad, unfairly targeting innocent students and scholars. Many universities in the U.S. have expressed concern, noting that Chinese students contribute billions of dollars annually to the American education system. This move is expected to result in a sharp decline in Chinese student enrollment, potentially altering global education dynamics. Thousands of affected students are now looking at alternative destinations like Canada, the UK, and Australia. What once was a smooth academic pathway has now become a diplomatic battleground between two of the world's biggest powers. Number 7. Cuba. Cuba's strained relationship with the United States has taken another hit in 2025. In June, the U.S. government imposed new restrictions that severely limit visa access for Cuban nationals. Although not a complete ban, these restrictions target B-1, B-2 visitor visas, which are commonly used for family visits, tourism, and short-term business trips. According to U.S. immigration authorities, Cuba has failed to comply with deportation agreements and lacks cooperation in verifying the identities of returnees. In response, the State Department has suspended most non-immigrant visa processing at the U.S. Embassy in Havana. Cubans now have to travel to third countries like Guyana or Mexico to attend visa interviews, which adds financial and logistical burdens to already struggling families. On top of that, even applicants who complete the process are experiencing record-high rejection rates. The Biden and Trump administrations both maintained a tough stance, citing national security concerns and political repression within Cuba. For Cuban Americans hoping to bring family over for short visits or reunions, the door is now nearly closed. This policy is also affecting cultural and academic exchanges, slowing down once active communication channels between the two countries. As relations continue to cool, hopes for easier mobility between Cuba and the U.S. are rapidly fading. Number 6. Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country and one of the U.S.'s major travel partners, has just been hit with a major visa downgrade. Effective July 8, 2025, the United States announced that all Nigerian B-1, B-2 visas, which previously allowed multiple entries for 5 years, will now be limited to just 3 months and single entry only. This change is not symbolic. It carries significant consequences. Nigerian professionals, tourists, and even families who travel frequently to the U.S. will now need to reapply for a visa each time, increasing costs, uncertainty, and rejection risk. The U.S. government cited multiple reasons for this policy change: a high rate of overstays, document fraud, and concerns over Nigeria's cooperation on deportations. For students and business travelers, this comes as a serious setback. Nigerian students rank among the top African demographics studying in the U.S., and many rely on long-term visas for stability and family support. Now, they face stricter scrutiny, shorter visa durations, and much higher processing burdens. This move has been criticized by immigration experts, who believe it could damage the U.S.-Nigeria relationship and push Nigerians toward alternative destinations like Canada, the UK, or even China. As Nigeria looks to expand its global footprint, this policy sends a message: the road to America just got a lot harder. Number 5. Haiti. Haiti, already burdened by political instability, natural disasters, and widespread poverty, now faces one of the harshest U.S. visa suspensions of 2025. In June, the U.S. imposed full restrictions on both immigrant and non-immigrant visas, effectively shutting down access for most Haitian nationals. The reason? The Department of Homeland Security cited Haiti's failure to meet identity verification standards and its lack of cooperation in accepting deported nationals. This decision has stalled family reunification, student visas, temporary worker programs, and even urgent humanitarian cases. Haitian Americans hoping to bring over parents, spouses, or children now find themselves trapped in paperwork, or worse, completely blocked. Even visas already in process are being reviewed or delayed indefinitely. For a country where thousands rely on the ability to travel to the U.S. for seasonal work or family support, this is a devastating blow. Immigration lawyers report a sharp rise in visa denials and canceled interviews at the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince. The policy has already begun to drive up irregular migration, as desperate Haitians seek any path to the U.S., often at great personal risk. Human rights organizations are calling the move inhumane, warning it may trigger a new wave of border crises. Number 4. Myanmar, Burma. Once hopeful for democratic reform, Myanmar is now facing total diplomatic isolation. After the 2021 military coup and ongoing civil unrest, the United States has taken a tough stand in 2025 by suspending nearly all types of visas for Burmese nationals. This includes tourist, student, business, and immigrant visas, essentially cutting off most legal pathways to the U.S. The decision was based on the military regime's failure to uphold human rights, its crackdown on democratic activists, and its lack of cooperation on global counterterrorism efforts. The U.S. Department of State labeled Myanmar a high-risk country, citing fears that some visa applicants may be connected to military operations or violent groups. Students who had been accepted to U.S. universities in fall 2025 are now being told their visas are indefinitely postponed. Cultural exchange programs, family visits, and even medical treatment travel are all being affected. For many Burmese citizens, even reaching a U.S. embassy in a neighboring country is an impossible task under current political conditions. The result is a near-total diplomatic freeze. With Myanmar locked out of most Western visa systems and international sanctions piling up, the country's path to global engagement is more restricted than ever before. Number 3. Iran. Iran continues to face one of the most comprehensive U.S. visa bans in place today. In June 2025, the United States renewed its total suspension of immigrant and non-immigrant visas for Iranian citizens, an extension of long-standing policy that began during past administrations but has now been reinforced with greater urgency. The official justification centers on Iran's nuclear activities, alleged support for terrorism, and failure to share security and criminal background data with international agencies. The visa freeze applies broadly to tourists, students, professionals, and even family-based immigration, leaving very few exceptions. Only tightly controlled humanitarian or diplomatic cases are reviewed, and even those face severe backlogs and denials. This policy means that even Iranian Americans hoping to bring parents or siblings over for a visit may be denied, regardless of income, status, or ties to the U.S. In recent months, Iranian students with valid U.S. visas have been turned away at airports without clear explanations. The chilling effect is real. Fewer students apply, fewer families reunite, and tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to rise. For now, America's doors remain firmly closed to most Iranians. Number 2. Eritrea. In a surprising move, the United States has quietly restricted visa services for Eritrean nationals in 2025. While it didn't make global headlines, this decision carries serious consequences. In June, the U.S. State Department officially suspended most visa processing for citizens of Eritrea, citing the country's repeated refusal to accept deported nationals from the U.S. This action falls under Section 243(d) of the Immigration and Nationality Act, allowing the U.S. to enforce visa sanctions when a country refuses to cooperate on deportations. As a result, Eritrean nationals applying for temporary or permanent visas, including B-1, B-2, and some immigrant categories, are now facing indefinite delays or outright denials. Eritrea, already one of the most closed and isolated nations in Africa, is now further cut off from the United States. Families hoping to reunite, students planning to study abroad, and workers pursuing opportunity in America are all caught in limbo. And here's the twist. This visa halt isn't just bureaucratic. It's political. The U.S. is sending a clear message: cooperate or face total cutoff. Number 1. Afghanistan. Topping the list, nearly all Afghan visas, immigrant and non-immigrant, are fully suspended since June 9, 2025, by the same proclamation. The U.S. specifically cites Afghanistan's lack of a functioning central government under Taliban control, collapsed biometric and vetting systems, and failure to cooperate on deportations as core reasons. This creates one of the most restrictive visa environments in modern history. Even Afghan nationals who supported U.S. efforts, a major demographic, have been halted, except those under narrow special immigrant visa (SIV) programs. The ripple effects are profound. Afghan families, refugees, students, and interpreters who once had hope face indefinite delays. One Afghan-American family in South Carolina, for instance, found their niece's visa blocked despite SIV eligibility. With the U.S. Embassy in Kabul closed and regional consular functions erratic, legitimate legal travel is nearly impossible. Meanwhile, appeals for temporary protected status, TPS, are underway, but visa issuance remains frozen. America's new visa policies reflect a deeper trend: rising global scrutiny, tougher immigration controls, and geopolitics shaping people's futures. If your country wasn't on this list, that's good news. But the list is growing, and no one's fully safe. If you found this video useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. We bring you real-time updates on visa policies, travel rules, and global migration trends. Planning to move, study, or travel in 2026? You won't want to miss what's coming next.